Welcome to another deck tech video, and today I'll be covering one of my favorite decks because, well, I'm a huge Avatar Last Airbender fan, and so this crossover has been really cool to me, and of course, I knew from the start I needed to build the super big dumb Aang card. So I'm assuming that you know that the commander that I'm talking about is Avatar Aang. Now before I get into it, if you could subscribe, it's free, you can always change your mind later. Now let's get into it. Avatar Aang is a flying 4/4 with firebending. He also allows you to draw a card every time you bend. This is a seriously good card draw engine, can get you through your deck super quickly. Then if you're able to do all 4 bending styles, water, earth, fire, and air, you get to transform Aang into his powerful side. The other side reduces all costs of spells by Wooburg, and it can reduce the colorless cost too, which is super cool and unique. Then you can choose to transform it back if you wish, and put 4+1/+1 counters on Aang, draw 7 cards, and deal 4 damage to each opponent. This is really good value if you just want to get back to your card draw engine after playing a bunch of things for free. Now personally though, I want to transform Aang and not just take advantage of the card draw, so we need to complete all 4 bending styles. So we need to talk about the different cards that allow us to do this, and let's start with my favorite in airbending. One of my favorite cards that lets us do this is Glider Staff, and this card is on theme because it's Aang's weapon of choice in the show, and it'll allow you to airbend target creature. This can be used to re-trigger an ETB for cheap or as temporary removal, up to you in the situation which one you use it for. It is also an equipment which allows you to buff a creature of your own. 2 other cards that will allow you to airbend are Monkiatsu and Appa Loyal Sky Bison. Monkiatsu will allow you to airbend your creatures that become targets of spells or abilities. This is really good because it allows you to airbend over and over again, and most airbending is a one-time use. Not only that, but you also get to protect your cards because if your opponent tries to target a creature, you can airbend it and play it again for 2 mana, which is really nice as board protection. And the last thing to mention about Monkiatsu is that your own spells and abilities will trigger him, so you can reliably airbend whenever you need to. Appa Loyal Sky Bison is another one of the few cards that allows you to airbend over and over again, as it lets you airbend when it attacks. This is another repeatable form of airbending, and so you should be able to make sure you have a source of airbending. The next bending style is waterbending. This is another one of the weird ones, but has cool effects. Katara, Water Tribe's Hope, and Flexible Waterbender are 2 of the most effective waterbending cards in the deck. Katara will not only allow you to waterbend at any time, but it also can be done for only 1 mana or the cost of tapping an artifact or creature. This is really cheap compared to most other waterbending cards. Flexible Waterbender, on the other hand, is a 3 cost waterbending source that's repeatable, so they're both really nice because you can repeat them, they're low cost, and they get the job done. Of course, one of the nice things about Flexible Waterbender though is that it can come out quicker than Katara. For those who know, the next bending style is Earthbending, and Earthbending honestly in terms of Magic is probably one of the best supported and stronger bending styles, so this isn't going to be nearly as hard. Some of the cooler cards are obviously Badgermole Cub and Toph First Metalbender. Badgermole Cub is one of the more powerful cards from the Avatar set, which I don't think I need to tell you, but it's worth mentioning. It Earthbends when it enters, and not only that, it essentially doubles the mana that your creatures make. And yes, I know it doesn't technically double, it adds an extra green mana. For most cases though, this is essentially the same thing as doubling, so before you put it in the comments. Moving on, Toph the First Metalbender, well, it earthbends on your end step, so every turn it is guaranteed earthbending, and it doesn't cost you any mana. Do I need to say more? The last bending style in the cycle is firebending, of course, and well, this one shouldn't be as hard to pull off because firebending, by the very way it works, is essentially repeatable. So it should be pretty easy. And if you were paying attention, you might remember the best firebending card, because I've already mentioned it, and that is Aang, because it's our commander. But of course, even though most of the time Aang will be enough, I still would like to cover one of the cooler cards in the deck that has firebending. This of course is Iroh Grand Lotus, and this will allow all of your instants and sorceries to have flashback, but the cool thing is that your lessons will have a cost of 1. And wouldn't you believe it, a lot of the lessons from the new set are in this deck because they're instants and sorceries with their respective bending style on them. So being able to play your instants and sorceries again is cool, and it's especially cool if a lot of them are reduced to 1 mana. And of course he has firebending too, so every time he attacks you're going to make 2 mana, and if you have your commander out, you also draw 2 cards. Okay, so now we have the ability to transform an Aang, and before you put it in the comments, yes, I know you could play Moon Mist too, and it would transform to its other side, but I didn't really want to put Moon Mist in it since most of the cards were Avatar, so I stick to an Avatar theme strictly. If you want to put Moon Mist in, it's a good card and you can do that. Moving on, now let's talk about removal. This is one of the areas that the deck isn't the best. Airbending is kind of removal, but it's temporary, and there's some other removal, but it's kind of more specific. That being said, we run a few counters like It'll Quench Ya, and then we also have Zuko's Exile, which is a card that's removal and isn't super specific. We do, however, have a couple of board wipes to reset tempo if the game starts to get out of control. We have cards like Blasphemous Act and Day of Black Sun. These will allow you to wipe the board, and if you do it right, you can even use Aang's card draw to reset and rebuild quicker. We also have one of my favorite cards from the new set, and in my opinion, the most powerful card from the Avatar set, which is Avatar's Wrath. This is a board wipe and a win con. It allows you to pick one thing, keep that, and wipe the rest of the board. Just to give you an idea of how powerful this card is basically, if a board wipe is being compared to Cyclonic Rift in any way, it's a really good card, because Cyclonic Rift is one of the best board wipes ever printed. To give you an idea of how powerful this card can be, I want you to imagine a scenario. You flipped Aang over, have everything reduced by Wooburg, and then you wipe the board with Avatar's Wrath. Okay? So you choose to keep Aang, and everything that you airbend only costs 2 mana, but because the Aang is free, so you wipe the board, your opponents can't play anything that they just got taken off the board until the end of your next turn, and you're able to play all of your stuff back out for free. Now that's powerful, and I can talk from experience because I've had that hypothetical scenario happen to me. Anyway, that's enough of me reinforcing things that you probably already know. I think that's all you really need to know to build this deck. As always, the full deck list will be in the description, and if you have a card suggestion, leave it in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, and subscribe if you want more Magic the Gathering videos. That's all for today, whether on this plane or another. Have a wonderful day.